just adjust that camera just a little bit, just tilt it a little bit, the camera, because I'm looking up a lot, so. Okay. Okay. Hi, welcome, friends. My name is Brett Provenzano, and I'm the superintendent of Fairport Central School District. Glad people are starting to join us. Welcome to Facebook Live. This is our very first time actually doing a Facebook Live session. And before we get started, we're just going to let people enter our room and try to answer some questions and respond to our thought exchange where we had 1,900 participants, 2,000 thoughts, and 76,000 ratings on how the Fairport Central School District is responding to this pandemic that the world is actually grappling with. I have here Peter Forsgren, Board of Education President.
Yes, and thank you for joining us. The participation, thank you so much for that, is so helpful in terms of how we move forward and making sure we are considering all angles. Just appreciate people taking the time to give us that kind of feedback.
And like I've said, this is our very first time ever doing this, and we're really excited to be interfacing with the community using social media. We truly want to continue to understand your thoughts and beliefs and perceptions, particularly as to how our district is responding to this pandemic that the world is grappling with, and it's causing much uncertainty, and we're have a lot more questions than answers. I'm really pleased with how we've responded. I do know that the community has high expectations, and I hope that we'll be able to answer a lot of different questions, and if we don't have answers to your questions, we'll make sure we take good notes and make it part of our frequently asked questions. And again, I'm sitting here with Peter Forsgren, Board of Education President.
Yes, and we are glad to be able to have this time with you and get more information out there. And as he said, we'll answer the questions we can and research the ones we don't know that we can answer at this time.
Yeah, that feedback's not good. Thanks, Tony. We're Facebook Live for the very first time, and in our social media network, we know is great, and we know that there's many different people that are interested and passionate about our schools and making sure that we're doing the best we can to support our students and each other through this incredible time period where information is changing by the day, sometimes by the very hour, and we're doing our best to communicate in real time and in a way that's pertinent and timely. Welcome, and if you're just joining us, we're looking forward to sharing approximately about 45 minutes to an hour. We're going to be talking about the thought exchange, where 1,900 of our participants, community members participated and gave their thoughts on how the Fairport Central School District is responding to the COVID-19 crisis. We had 76,000 ratings. That's incredible. The amount of participation and interest and all the thoughts that are out there really helps us get a good idea on what people are thinking, feeling, and wondering about our response. I'm sitting here with Peter Forsgren, our Board of Education President. He's looking forward to share his perspective from the Board of Education. And our main purpose here tonight is to share what we've learned and actually learn from you.
And that thought exchange, what a great idea. Thank you for putting that together. My experience was positive in terms of going on there, seeing other people's thoughts, being able to rate at those things that were important to me as a father, but as a board member, and grateful for the participation that many of you have put in there to think of that many type of ratings and the number of thoughts that came out and visualizing it in a word cloud. Just a great way to exchange and share ideas and get a lot of people involved. We seem to be always smarter together than we are individually.
Mr. Exton, it seems to be an echo out there in Facebook Live land. I don't know if we're redundant with this microphone. There was a comment out there already. Tony? Is there still an echo out there? Again, this is our very first time doing this. We appreciate everyone's patience. I see that our chat room is starting to fill up, and I'm looking forward to sharing our perceptions and expectations moving forward. We want to hear from the community, continually get feedback on how the district's responding to the COVID-19 pandemic that has really riddled us and put us in places that we've really haven't been to as a community. But the one thing that I'm certain is that we're going to rally around each other, and I'm confident that we're going to learn from each other. We're going to try to be responsive to the range of needs that are out there. We had a thought exchange where we asked the question, how are we doing? And there were 1,900 participants in a way that Fairport can only respond. We had 2,000 people give thoughts and their perceptions, and we're trying to understand those and helps us navigate the uncharted waters and making sure that our response is timely and pertinent and certainly relevant to our community's expectations. And there were 76,000 ratings, so we have a good sense of where the priorities are. And again, I'm sitting here with Peter Forsgren, our Board of Education President.
Yes, and so we know many people have questions. We're grateful that you're going to join us tonight and look forward to being able to share all that we can at this time.
I really like to start off by saying welcome and thank you for allowing us to do this for the very first time in the Fairport Central School District's history, Facebook Live, using technology to reach out, to make sure that we're truly understanding the thoughts, feelings, and beliefs of our community, make sure that we're serving with clarity and purpose. I need to say before we really head into the details of this Facebook Live, my acknowledgments go out to family members who are impacted by COVID-19. I know that this, as we are sitting here, people are dealing with this in many different ways, whether it's tangentially or directly. We know that this has hit families in many different ways. Economically, we know that people are struggling to make ends meet. We also know that there's social emotional beliefs and feelings out there that we need to take care of each other and make sure that we're leaning on each other, and we could talk a little bit about that. And of course, those who are suffering from loss or someone who is really grappling with health issues or concerns about pre-existing conditions, and maybe there's an older relative that you have that you're trying to keep safe and you're trying to make sure that they're provided for. We know that the needs are many, and that was one thing that we learned from the thought exchange, is that people are thinking about these things, and that's where I am really endeared to this community, because we're taking care of each other, and that's our first priority. And I think, I won't speak on behalf of the board. Peter Forsgren's here to do that, but taking care of each other, making sure that our students' needs are being met. We have mental health staff. We have the Safe Schools Helpline, where we are definitely trying to make those connections. We're able to feed those students who are in need breakfast and lunch. We're serving between 400 and 450 meals a day for the past 3 weeks. And I applaud our food service, who's out there every day making meals for our community in need. Like I said, this is our first time, and we're trying to work out some kinks, and I appreciate your patience and grace with us as we move along through this. But I do think that you, again, learned that today that schools will continue to be closed through April 29th, 2020. We're working with Monroe County officials, Monroe County superintendents, but we're also taking the lead of the governor. He is sharing in 2-week increments on how he expects us to move along as school districts. So we can't get too far out in front of him. And so I feel really confident in our local networks. I feel confident that as the local area group of superintendents, we're working together as one unit, trying to get information out consistently. And we're following similar guidance. We have incredible relationships with Monroe County Department of Health. Adam Bello, who has shown incredible leadership, along with Dr. Mendoza. We're frequently talking to Dr. Mendoza, making sure that we're adhering to the right guidelines. And the one thing that I really want to continue to impress upon our community is social distancing. And that's a real live concept that, we need to take to heart. And now more than ever, these next couple of weeks are very important. Dr. Mendoza has reiterated it in his messaging. You've heard it in the national spotlight as well. These 2 weeks will set the course for the next several weeks going forward. We want to get together. So in order for us to be together, we need to be apart for a little bit. And I know that it's hard, and I know that we're asked to do things differently. You'll see that inside this bag is my own mask. I'm masking, and I got to go to Wegmans, I got to go to the pharmacy, I'm masking. And this is a mask that I had, from many, many years ago when I was painting, and I found it in my basement, and, I'm putting it in a brown paper bag when it's not in use. But when you'll see me out and about, I was in Target yesterday, I saw some students, I saw some community members, you would have seen me, and of course, Kim, my wife, wearing a mask. I also have to say I would be remiss if my appreciation and heart goes out to those first responders and health caregivers who are laying it on the line every single day. And again, that speaks to the importance of we need to social distance. We need to make sure that we're not on our school grounds. We've seen it at different times, and I know that these seem like great places to be, especially if nobody's there. But we're going to continually ask that you do not come on school grounds during this closure. And it sounds weird saying that because we always want our schools filled with children and families. But during this pandemic, we're asking you to stay off our school grounds. I've been in close contact with local authorities. I've talked to Supervisor Hannah as well. And I know the parks are open, and he would hope that you would follow the social distancing guidelines because those are wide open places as well. But our expectations here at school are to please make sure that you stay off school grounds for your safety, for the safety of children and families, so we can be together. That's something that's very important to me. But before we get into the questions and moving forward, I'm going to turn this over to Board of Education President Peter Forsgren.
Thank you, Brett. I invite you to wonder with me at this time. I wonder what we will associate the words 2020 with in the next few weeks and months. Historically, 2020 was associated with eye tests, vision tests, right? And I lost my 2020 vision when I was 38, and since then I've had to wear these corrective lenses. Unfortunately, these corrective lenses have not increased my ability to look into the future. The cliche goes, though, that hindsight is 20/20, and so now in hindsight we can look back at what's happened in the last just few weeks and the first 3-4 months of this year, and with hindsight can say with certainty that I don't think anybody would have been able to forecast the impact that COVID-19 would have had upon us as a community. Not as a state, not nationally, and perhaps not even globally. It's been surprising, it has been precipitous, it's been incredible. And we worry about the impact on our students as a school district. We especially worry about the most vulnerable population in our community. There's a lot of uncertainty, right? We do not have 20/20 vision looking forward because, as Brett has pointed out, there's a lot that is changing on the ground. And so we don't have certainty at this time. But there are some things that are starting to become clearer to us. The state has passed a budget. And in that budget, they have held state aid flat. For our district, we're dependent, about 27-30% of our budget is dependent on the revenues that come from state aid. However, within that budget, they have provided 3 look-back periods. And at the end of each look-back period, to make a determination of whether that state aid should indeed remain flat or whether they need to claw some of it back. I say claw it back, it means we will probably never get it in the first place. So that provides some additional uncertainty, especially since we were the majority of our way through the budget process. It's now to hit the ground back at stage 1 and look at what we need to do. But I want to share with you tonight what it is we do have in our tool set that will allow us with 20/20 precision stay focused on those things which are important. And we have an incredible tool set. The first one is we have a vision, right? That's on our website, and you can see some of our tool sets on the website. I'd like to share with you tonight just what that vision is. It says that our vision is to cultivate creative, healthy, caring, and critical thinkers who participate in and contribute to a diverse society as ethical citizens. That vision will guide us. I don't think we need to change it. Perhaps we need to say something about adapting to unfortunate situations that come upon us fast, like the COVID-19. But it's a great vision statement. Second, we have a mission statement. I won't read all of that to you. It's rather lengthy, and if you'd like to read it, it is again at our website. But I want to share the key words that introduce the mission statement that we follow. It is that we will educate each child, every child, and the whole child. I can't think of a more powerful way to introduce a mission than that phrase, to educate each child, every child, and the whole child. That is what we want to do, and that is the lens through which we will be making decisions that are important for us to make. Third, the Board of Ed about 5 years ago created a core belief statement. As a board, we represent the community. We have revisited that core belief statement from time to time to make tweaks and make sure that we think it's still the lens through which we should be looking so that we can make the right decisions that will impact this community positively. We have that, we're going to use it. Fourth, we have an incredible staff in which we have the utmost confidence. They have shown their mettle yet again in the last few weeks. It has been incredible. They don't show that mettle to prove it to us as the Board of Ed, but that is who they are. That is why they are so incredible. And they are led by a second-to-none superintendent. Brett, I just want to thank you here on Facebook Live to everybody for your leadership, for being calm, for being knowledgeable, for being involved. And that's important, and that's flowing down through our incredible staff. That is an incredible tool set that we have to get through this situation. And fifth, we have strategic initiatives, a strategic plan. It was developed by the community as a whole. The participation was incredible. The stakeholders that came to and showed up helped us create strategic initiatives. There's 3 parts to it, and we're going to remain focused on those strategic initiatives because it lets us know who we want to become, who we are now, where we're going. And so there's no better tool than to use that to guide the decisions that we need to make. It includes educational programming, because we want every youth who leaves this district to be ready for a career, for college, or whatever path they take. And we want them to be ready at the highest levels. And so we'll focus on curriculum, and we'll focus on professional development. There are many areas of educational programming, but research has shown over and over again that in crisis situations, districts tend to cut precisely in the areas that they shouldn't. One of those is professional development. And so we need to make sure we make the right decisions at these challenging times so that we remain a high-quality school district, of which I have no doubts that we will. The second area is facilities planning, and we've seen the community come out to support to say, yes, we want 21st century facilities, and we will stay focused on that. We don't want to, in these challenging times, to let our facilities continue to degrade in such a way that it becomes even more expensive to bring them up to par. So we're going to stay focused. We will look at the timelines, whether that needs to be revisited or whatnot. That's part of our decision, but we need to remain focused on that as part of our strategic initiatives. And then third is fiscal sustainability. And now we can see the importance of why that's part of our strategic plan. We have been focused on that over the last few years, and we feel confident that we have the means where we can manage this situation. So this is part of our tool set, and we have to use all those tools as we go back to the drawing board and prepare the budget that will be presented to the community. We have what we need to manage through this. We will work with our superintendent, who works with the staff, and we will do all that we can to keep us moving forward, to become what we want to become. We are already, I think, a great school district. We can always be better. So no matter what comes at us, we want to tackle it and manage it. And we can do that. We're not going to sit aside and let things just happen to us. We can tackle it, we can manage it, and together, we will get through this together.
And I think that's been my theme, and I appreciate you really, framing the conversation really well around our vision and beliefs. And, we will be shifting and having conversations about what our priorities are, but shifting some of those budget pieces as we adapt to this environment that we're all looking to understand. And tomorrow, we're going to be doing the same type of thing, but we're going to be using Zoom technology on Facebook Live and on our YouTube channel to talk a little bit about the budget implications, so really get into some of those numbers. The board will be talking about their priorities and expectations moving forward with the budget. And I would like to just, before I get into some of these questions that are starting to come forward, I do want to say thank you to our instructors. On moment's notice, we built a program that got us in front of our children, that really gave us the opportunity to start having and building connections with them throughout this whole process. So thank you to staff, thank you for being responsive, and I know as we move forward, I know that the online presence is going to continue. And that's where I want to start. You know, I want to say that as we move forward, you're going to see more and more of our teachers interacting with students in an online model. They're going to be interacting with them 2 to 3 times a week in many different formats, whether it's looking at a YouTube video or a Google Meet classroom or email, or reach out directly via phone or a phone conference. There's going to be many modalities. You're starting to see it already. I see it in my own house with my own children. And as the teachers get more comfortable, we will definitely be responsive. Each week you'll be getting updated planners that have guidelines or frameworks in the K-8 world. You're going to see us being a little bit more organized and getting a cadence to when we reach out and connect with children. And the one thing that I really want to say in this whole thing, again, this is about the safety and well-being and the health of our children in our community, right? It's about access and equity, making sure that all of our children have access to receive a free and appropriate education, making sure that if there's special education needs or English as a second language need, that we are poised to be able to support all children to give them an education. Right now, we are not a one-to-one district, and we're working hard to disseminate computers. In our first iteration, we provided 250 laptops to our 6 through 12 population. Right now, this week, probably by Thursday or Friday, we're going to start disseminating laptops to grades 3 and 5, and then we're going to follow up with grades 1 and 2. You'll be hearing from building principals about getting laptops so you can have the ability to get online. And I know many moms and dads are working from home, and you know, we're going to try to accommodate those needs. But we're really going to try to discern the neediest and do our best to get laptops into the hands of those children who don't have them, so they can participate freely while interacting with our teachers. So I thought that was important to recognize, because I know that was a very important question. This will not be homeschool, right? And we will not be providing online class where you're actually teaching an online class. We don't have that capability at this point in time. Is it something that we could build upon for the future? 100%. Is it something that we're going to work on and create a hybrid approach as we move forward, as you're starting to see? I was just looking at the middle school's plan of how they're reaching out and coordinating and organizing and setting up times to meet with students in a coordinated fashion with a really good cadence, so we can connect and make sure that we're moving curriculum forward, but more importantly so our teachers and students can interact. And our mental health staff is also available during this time. And I know that they're meeting constantly. I've been involved in conversations where they've been actually involved with students and families. And please reach out to our principals, reach out to our mental health staff via email. They're constantly checking their email. Our building principals are constantly checking their email. Call the office, leave a message. It's imperative that you know that you have somebody there. We also have the Safe Schools Hotline, which is directly linked on our COVID website at fairport.org. If you need to reach out, if you are in a position to where you are struggling with any circumstance, we want to hear from you. So no phone calls too small. Every issue is a very important issue. I have a question here with respect to scheduling. Do you anticipate school during the summer, or would it resume next year? Too early to tell. We are following the governor's lead. The governor's giving every 2 weeks. Now, he came out a little bit early this week. He was supposed to wait to the end of the week, which is fine. I'm glad that he's given us forewarning, and April 29th is the next date that he's gonna be looking at, and we're following his lead. We can't go ahead of the governor, and regardless of what you hear out there, April 29th is the next day, or we should be getting an update before then if he's going to extend it. But right now, we're expected to be in after April 29th. So we'll be continually be communicating that to you. I don't know about summer school, extending the school year. One thing I have to say is that all the kids in America are in the same boat. We will adjust. Our curriculum maps will adjust. We're not going to ask our kids to catch up. Again, there's many different circumstances out there. We've heard from kids who don't have technology, don't have Wi-Fi, even though we're trying to get them technology and we're trying to get them Wi-Fi. We have circumstances that, do not create an equal playing field that we need to be accountable to, because this is public education. I feel confident in the plans moving forward. I know that our K-5 world has frameworks that will be updated weekly. We'll continue to create online opportunities and interactions. 6-8, 9-12, you'll see a continued increased presence as well. Cadence, making sure that we're not getting it all done in a certain time period, and I know moms and dads are home and they're trying to get work done too. So we're working through some of those kinks. We appreciate your patience, but again, the resilience of our staff, their willingness to reach out and to do things differently. I know you've seen morning shows. I've known, you're starting to see some different theme-based, weeks and celebrations as we move forward. But as far as how far out are we? Again, it's every 2 weeks. I can't project. I won't project. I do know that these are very important weeks, though, that we do abide by the social distancing expectations that have been shared by Monroe County, by our schools. We need to make sure that we remain socially distanced. You'll see right now that we are, 6 feet plus away. And again, I am masking. I do not, hide that fact. And when you'll see me in Target, you'll see me in Wegmans, you'll probably see me with a mask, to make sure that I'm protecting, you from me. My mask is a painter's mask from a few years back. It's not the standard one, the N95 that our health professionals need, and who I have great respect and gratitude for. What is happening in the plan for graduation? Please continue to pay close attention to Mr. Clark, myself, and his team. We are going to be meeting and talking about, what we're doing with graduation, what it looks like, especially if the graduation, if we continue to move along in this fashion of social distancing. It's a very important conversation, and we will keep you abreast. Again, we might leave this session here with questions that we address and questions that we don't address. We're going to highlight them and make sure that we're addressing them very specifically as we move forward. Here's another question. Assume you continue the 2-week leads for school closure. Will you close school for next year or remain open in summer? Again, there are no plans for extended school years at this point in time. Right now, we are following the 2-week leads. I do know that we do have a school calendar, but there has not been any talk of an extended school year. We are planning for the long haul, though. We are looking at continuing to ramp up our online presence. Right now, today, we learned that there will not be Regents exams. And the Regents came out and said that they will be canceling the Regents this year, given the state of where we are as a nation, and or as the state of New York. So there'll be future guidance on what that means and how that's going to impact grading and reporting. and how we report on transcripts. And again, everybody is in the same boat. So colleges, universities are already starting to, from what I understand, to show grace and flexibility on how they accept or receive transcripts. And Mr. Clark and his team, I know that these are questions that they're very interested in grappling with and meeting with their counselors on and then communicating. So it's new information, changing daily, and with the regents just canceling the regent examinations, there'll be information, hopefully within a week or so, how we're moving forward.
We have a national problem, right, that's being dealt with at a local level and then on an individual family level. I imagine we will have to continue to make sure we feel part of that community, because there are students, seniors, especially across this country, who are wondering the exact questions we're seeing come across here on Facebook Live, right? Not just graduation, but going off to college. And those universities and colleges are going to have to figure out how they receive a nationwide set of students who did not get to finish the school year the way it was anticipated.
So, yeah, and that just underscores the importance of, you know, we're all in the same boat. I know one thing for sure, there will be gaps. I know that we will be adjusting our curriculum maps. We will meet the students where they are. And if you're struggling at home trying to engage your child, and again, I'm a parent, right? And I know sometimes it gets challenging to manage all the moving parts. I even have to really think and step outside myself to say, hey, there's a bigger picture going on here. We need to make sure that they're feeling healthy, that they're feeling safe, and they're strong in mind, body, and spirit, making sure that, you know, if they aren't feeling good, who can we connect them to? If they're feeling like they're not motivated to do the work, it's okay to back off a little bit. The teachers are going to be dipsticking along the way. They're going to be getting information and assessing the level of their understanding. They don't need a letter grade to make that happen. You know, so that feedback is going to be invaluable. But we will be adjusting our curriculum maps. So that means when we hit the ground running in the fall, we will be prepared to meet children where they are. Are students taking advantage of all that the teachers are preparing? Honestly, some are doing the best they can, right? Some are all in and completely engaged, and some are hard to engage, and we're really struggling to make sure that they're doing the work. And again, you got that free and appropriate education piece, that expectation that all students have an equal opportunity to receive a quality education. So that's the challenge of this whole endeavor, is to make sure that we're reaching and connecting in all its forms our students and their needs, social, emotionally, academically, challenging them in as much as we can, providing support and enrichment or remediation. You know, that's the challenge in all this. I was just talking to a parent before I came here today, and, you know, they were wondering about, you know, extended or remediation with or math or reading specialists. They will be reaching out. They will be making those connections. And because it's important that we do our best to support students when they don't know or when they are struggling. Our professionals know that, and they will be reaching out in multiple different forms as we move forward. Have basketball hoops on school grounds been removed yet? If not, why? Thank you for that feedback. And some of that is just good feedback, and I appreciate that. Don't have an answer directly on that. No grades are being handed out. Planning to just pass all kids. Summer school, some kids don't get learning as they do in a class setting, okay? Yeah, we're in a position that grades are not the priority, and I'll be the first one to say that. You know, how are you learning? To what extent are you learning? This concept of to what extent are you understanding the standard? I don't need a number grade. Your teachers don't need a number grade. You know, just by having a conversation with a child, you'll be able to tell the depth of how much they know. And as you move forward, as we go through this journey, you will start to see, particularly in the 9, 10, 11, 12 world, assessments so we can understand the depth and breadth of how students are learning. You know, we know that, you know, there will be gaps. Summer school is not going to be a carte blanche for everybody. And we're going to have to be very careful on how we discern who needs a little bit more remediation, who needs more reinforcement, or who can we catch up as soon as we start in the fall. And this whole online learning concept that we're trying to evolve into, it's not the same as a personal connection, especially in the K-5 world. And as you go up 6, 8, those interpersonal relationships, 9, 12, connecting directly with a teacher, being in a classroom, it's all new. And our students are adjusting to that as well. I again, just from my own experience, and from someone who's in college to kids who are in school, they have their feelings about not being in class and up close and experiencing those interactions. I don't know what's happening in your house.
Absolutely, we're experiencing it. 2 children still out of the 5 left who are experiencing all this, and differently, right? My youngest son experienced it differently than my daughter. And, we're answering some questions that have been out there for several years even about going online for education. And people with extra time on their hands are creating humorous memes. One of them is some person said they would never vote against the school district budget again, right? Appreciating the value of having children at school. We're seeing that. The research had already given us an indication that online learning is not the best way to disseminate information in the public schools. And we're doing all that we can to make it a good experience, but I talked with the teacher today, and it's challenging, right? And he is dipsticking, as you mentioned. They're trying to stay connected in the best way they can in the circumstances that they have. So it's all going as we can bring the resources to bear, and yet it's challenging in recognizing that students, individuals, will have a bit of a different experience. Those who are more personal in nature and need that contact versus those who are more comfortable behind that computer screen. And so yes, we're experiencing in our household. We know it's being experienced differently across the district, and looking for ways to try and evolve and involve each of those students.
One thing I do know for certain, and it's been a conversation at a very low level, we haven't had much of a public, forum with this, but online learning or online platforms, I do feel, moving forward, it's something that we need to be accountable for or to, and grow with this in this world that we're living in. There's models out there that, and we're seeing some teachers actually do it as well, to an extent, and we're looking forward to learning and growing and moving forward with that endeavor.
Let every challenge be a learning situation. We are in education. We better be learning from this, and I think there indeed is a role and a part of what we're now doing and how we adapt that into who we are in the future. Absolutely. But it doesn't replace that in-person, right, education.
Yep. It's personal, highly personalized, and intimate learning experiences are at the hallmark of what quality education looks like. So again, there's continued questions about alternative graduation plans. As we continue to move along, we are moving along with the governor. We're not going to go ahead of the governor. As we move forward, right now, April 29th, I believe it's a Wednesday. So on that Thursday, the 30th, he has us coming back to school. And if that should change, we will know and put out another date. But as we continue to move closer to that, people are wondering about graduation. What's our plan for graduation? And I think as we move forward, what's going to happen with social distancing? How do we project those pieces into the future? We're going to have to make decisions soon. We know that that's out there. And Mr. Clark and his team, and along with myself, will be communicating clearly on how we can make this an important time for our seniors. We know they have some, a lot of important things coming up that are, rite of passages that we want to give them. So we're going to look at how can we make the best out of this situation. But right now, graduation is moving forward. We will keep you abreast and let you know if that should change and what our details and plans would be.
Sorry, I was just thinking, as a board, we love recognition and recognizing success. There is no greater recognition event than graduation, right? So we want to, if we can, if they opportunity allows to celebrate what our seniors have done, especially considering that this is our first group of seniors who've ever had to go through this type of situation, and what they're able to accomplish despite the challenges that were given to them that previous senior classes did not receive.
And it's true, there's a chunk of information that they're gonna have, there's gonna be gaps, and I'm just continuing to answer some of the questions that keep coming up, and, if you're just joining us, I fully acknowledge, our educators fully acknowledge that they're not getting the education that they would be getting if they were in front of us, and I think that's not a Fairport problem, that's a national problem, and that's a world problem wherever they're canceling, school. There will be adaptations to curriculum maps. We will adapt our curriculum maps. We will meet students where they are. I'm more concerned about their social emotional well-being, making sure that they know that, if they're hungry or if they have a need, we have a place where they can eat. If they're struggling socially or emotionally, a counselor, a administrator, even a classroom teacher wants to hear from them so we can wrap supports around them. We have a Safe Schools hotline, which you can find on our district website. That needs to be our priority. The education, we're going to continue to evolve. We're going to make it more of a interactive online experience in as much as we can. We do not have online formal platforms where we're systematically, or we have systematically identified a consistent platform. But we're moving along, and we have a hybrid approach where I feel like we're making the most out of this situation and doing what's best for our children as well. Regarding Regents examinations, again, as many of you know, the Regents today canceled Regents exams. There's a question about second language proficiency exams. Now, tomorrow they're coming out with further guidance that will get into the nooks and crannies of that. What are they doing with these second language proficiency exams? So please stay tuned. That will be part of a follow-up communication, and we'll make sure that our building principals are able to communicate that. Again, the information just came out this morning or afternoon, right? And actually, you were the one who told me. You got the email before I did, which is fine.
Well, we were talking, right?
We were talking, yeah. And but we're going to get further guidance on that as we move forward. So thank you for that question.
Can I emphasize too, the social, emotional, mental health needs? This district has invested in that area, knowing it's a priority for anybody to learn, is to make sure that they are safe, socially, emotionally, mental health. And even if we return to school on May 1st, that will remain a concern for some. Some people will question their safety. And so even if we bring all students back, we have to make that a priority, whether they're here in person or still sitting at home. And we're happy to make that investment.
I see that there's retired teachers out there who want to connect with and support. Very much appreciated. Thank you. Other districts seem to be producing more robust printed material and online engagement. Now that we have an extended pause from school, is there a plan for Fairport? And as I have said and will continue to say, and I appreciate the question, I appreciate the interest, we are evolving in this realm. I can't speak to other districts. I do speak to superintendents frequently, and everybody's grappling with the same questions. And even those districts that have, one-to-one platforms, that is something that they're trying to do, is to make it seamless. And we, again, speaking for Fairport, we are going to do our best to move along and evolve. And as you've seen it from the first week to the second week, now to the third week, you're seeing more planning and organization. You're seeing more reach outs and connections. I believe principals sent out communications that speak to 2 to 3 opportunities to connect with your teacher throughout the week. Now, again, we also realize that there's many different needs and moving parts in households. Wi-Fi is, there's traffic jams in the Wi-Fi world. I'm learning. Even I've been on conference calls and I've been kicked out because the Wi-Fi in my neighborhood can only handle so much. So, there's a reason to show a little discernment in moving forward in a methodical way. And I know that it's something that we got to continue to look at as we move forward. And I know that as we move forward, you'll see more of an online presence and interaction. And again, starting to see that already. And I don't know, in your own household, are you seeing online or contacts with teachers moving forward?
We are. We're seeing plenty of it, and like many people, our emails get filled up quickly, especially early in the week, but we welcome that as we try to manage through and keep them busy. And as I said, one son today took outside, get a deep breath. He was feeling a little overwhelmed, but it's only Monday, right? And he doesn't have to do it all today. As these assignments were throughout the week and helping him set up that schedule and having consistency, this is all part of how we support him. And so it's out there. Can we pause long enough, and I don't mean this, the word gratuitously or whatever fails me, but to express, right, gratitude. I think all the districts, ours included, are trying to take the airplane that is flying and enhance it while it's flying. And that is challenging at best, right? It is hard to change suddenly. This happens so precipitously to all of us. And I thank you. I thank the teachers and the staff and support staff and you, Brett, and the administration who have strived over a weekend to tackle this quickly and from that point on continue to try and make it better. There's no doubts, you've mentioned it, there's gaps, there's things that need to be improved, and you're working on it. So the pause is thank you, right? I know there's complaints, but let's not forget the great work that's being done on the fly.
And I know that as we speak right now, there's curriculum leaders, there's principals, there's teacher leaders who are trying to continue to increase this engagement, this online presence, trying to add professional development so teachers are comfortable with the multiple different tools of technology to connect with students. And I know that our teachers are finding ways to assess for learning. It doesn't always need to come in a number grade, and that's how we all learned. And I think getting information, getting feedback that informs how students are doing, that is, part of the craft. And I'm confident that as we move through this, and if we continue to get extensions in this closure, you will see assessments, you will see tests that are common amongst departments, just so we can continue to get that dipstick. And how we are going to report it, the third quarter ended, I believe it was March 13th. And if your child had makeup work, your child's teacher should have been in contact with them or you so they can complete the makeup work. Ask me how I know that, right? And then they need to complete that makeup work, and they'll get it in by April 15th. And so you'll see third quarter grades, and they will be posted on April 27th. So check in with your child, ask them if there's any makeup work, or has your teacher been in touch with you to get makeup work. By any means, though, we will not harm a child if for some reason, some circumstance is bigger than the academics that they're trying to grapple with. We will give them every opportunity to make that up. But the third quarter is officially closed. We're trying to figure out what's happening with the fourth quarter, as is our Monroe County counterparts. How do we go forward, whether it be a pass-fail, whether it is some sort of numerical grade. We're trying to understand that and rally around each other, use the information that we have at hand. I would also say, again, more questions about, how are we going to fill those gaps? Will there be summer school? Again, these are all really good questions, and these were questions that the Thought Exchange expressed. I can't, express it enough. We will be adjusting our curriculum maps. We know that there will be learning gaps. We also know that colleges will help us, and they will provide guidance on how they want information recorded moving forward. We also have heard from colleges already, and they're foregoing, certain parameters that they would have usually under normal circumstances. But these are not normal circumstances.
I saw a question on the budget, right,
Yep.
and the impact this
I
year.
didn't see, okay, great.
One of I had mentioned earlier on, there's a look-back period presented in the state budget that was passed on April 2nd or 3rd, just a little bit late, remaining flat, but the look-back periods include during this current school year, right? So yes, it potentially could have an impact on the school year. For the most part, though, I think we have the bulk of our revenues in for this year, so, and we're not sure about the rest of the year anyway in terms of the types of programs we'll be able to offer. But one of those look-back periods, or two of those look-back periods happen during this school year. And then the first 6 months of the next school year is a look-back period. And at those look-back periods, the state will assess whether they can fulfill their obligation in terms of state aid. That is again, a 30% area roughly of our budget. And so it has it could have a real impact in terms of what we do. We'll be considering that. We have to assume up front, because once we pass our budget, that's kind of sets it. We don't want to have to make huge shifts during a school year. It's not good for children. So we will be contemplating the scenarios. We'll be looking tomorrow night. I think you mentioned that, right? Tomorrow night, we will be meeting as a school board through Zoom technology. We will not be together in person so that we can follow the rules and guidelines that have been put out there by a governor, to look at different options, but also to talk about our priorities. As I mentioned, look at our tool set, making sure we are staying true to our vision, our mission, our core beliefs, and our desire to educate each child and every child. So the budget is not yet known. We will be going through that, though, in the next few days and weeks and presenting something to the community once we have these discussions. But we have to go back to the drawing board somewhat. What we had presented in early March is no longer viable.
And that'll be tomorrow night at 7 PM. We're having, again, the board will be having a special session just to talk about the budget and their priorities, and we'll be getting into the numbers and, you know, the potential budget setbacks and what our goals are. And I do think that at the end of this, we're gonna have some really strong goals and expectations to make sure that we're, you know, giving our students the very best. And I know that the priorities will be telling that story.
Right.
You know, this week was supposed to be spring break, and I'm gonna be trying to address a question globally. You know, our children are home. They should be practicing social distancing. They shouldn't be, you know, playing basketball in the front yard with neighbors, based upon the information that we've heard. But they should be getting outside. They should be stretching their legs. They shouldn't be sitting in front of a computer screen. I can't really, you know, tell you how to parent, and I will never tell you how to parent. But the number one thing that you should be concerned about is your child's social, emotional well-being. You know, and I know it took us a couple weeks to get going, and, you know, communication, as much as we're trying to make it consistent, we're trying to get in a cadence now. And you will see teachers reaching out to children. But they also know that it's just not all about the academic pieces. But if your child needs to stretch their legs, and if they can't make you a session, just communicate. Communicate that with the teacher. If you feel that, you know, that your child needs to get some fresh air, to take the dog for a walk, to take a family walk, by all means, that's your priority and that's your prerogative. And, you know, again, our teachers will use discernment. Our teachers know that there's many different moving parts and expectations in your home, even amongst each other. They're trying to coordinate. I know it's never perfect. This was supposed to be spring break, but the governor has issued this decree, and we're obligated to go forth with it. And I do know that our teachers are using judgment. Some of them will be using as review. Some will be, you know, giving them different assignments that may include, you know, going outside and getting fresh air too. So thank you for your patience with that. That's really strong, solid feedback.
And you see the difference, I suppose, this is not homeschooling in the least. But when one-on-one, when a student's home on their own, the pace at which they can get through the material is different, right? So that, indeed, again, between my two children's experience, one seems to finish up sooner than another, but I don't think any of them have a lighter load than the other. It's just the time that they're spending and what they're able to accomplish tends to be a little different. Regardless, it is for us getting them outside, helping them to take the appropriate breaks, having diversity and experience, and letting this be an educational opportunity for them too. Again, I mentioned it briefly, you know, it's not part of our vision necessarily, but we're going to have to learn to adapt to situations that come upon us. This will be part of their education. They will remember this the rest of their lives, there's no doubt. And hopefully, together, we can bring them all through it so it ends up being a positive experience in ways that they can talk about and share in the future.
I also think it's important that you continue to communicate with your building principals, and they're there. They want to hear, you know, how is it going, I'm gonna take this feedback right back to them, and I know a lot of them are out there listening. Making sure that we get a reasonable cadence, making sure that it's not all happening at once. And if you get a sense that it needs to be calibrated, by all means, we wanna hear that. We're open to your feedback. I think you've seen through the thought exchange, through, even a Facebook Live expectation here to interact with the community. This is important feedback. Someone out here asked, I think, a very good question about what are we doing to operate, what are we doing to manage operating costs in each of our buildings? The first thing that Mr. Forsgren said, or Tony Exton said, man, it's freezing in this room.
My hands are cold for sure, no, and there are things we can do and are being done to prepare ourselves for the next school year where state aid may be even lower than what they passed in the budget. So we're, part of our fiscal sustainability, our strategic plan is do all that we can do now to take any savings into the future and utilize that where gaps may be created.
So this one question is, very interesting. There seems to be disparity in the quality of online curriculum from one teacher to another teacher. And it's just like any other time, any other teacher, any other classroom, any other day, there's differences. I don't even want to say disparities, because every teacher has a certain gift and a way that they impart the art and science of teaching. And that's what you may be seeing here. Some teachers, may feel very comfortable, on an online platform or using different tools and going on YouTube and flipping a lesson, or, sending, students on a scavenger hunt to reinforce some main ideas and concepts. If you're taking a look at the K-5 framework that we have set, that is the basic curriculum. That is what we are guaranteeing to all of our students, K-5. And I'm really proud of the work that's been done there, because there is levels of coherence. Now, again, how do you apply that? How is that translated? That's just what occurs every single day in our classes. Teachers will do different things to connect with children. And that's what a lot of teachers are trying to figure out right now. And they're making great strides in trying to get comfortable with the different tools of technology. Some have been at it more than others. My takeaway as superintendent, and I think as from a leadership perspective from the board, is it's something that we need to, as we look at the skills and the tools and the dispositions that our students need to have, this is something that we need to continue to build upon as we move forward. But you will see it increase as we move forward.
My wife was teaching an early morning class here, 6 a.m., right? And it was in person, small group, and she has switched it to online, but as part of that switch, it became 13 hours of professional development in order to know how you apply the science of teaching through an online. Think about that for our teachers and give them some leeway in terms of what it takes. They have the art and science of teaching down, and yet all of us were surprised again at how we needed to attack this new situation and move education online. There's professional development for that, but it takes a bit to also come up to speed and become comfortable with the tools that are needed to apply that to our students.
Any plans to begin rolling out Chromebooks to students? As I stated, and I'm so glad it continues to come up, because I'm, again, proud of our efforts. We're not a one-to-one school district, but we do have plenty of devices. There are 250 devices that were lent out to students in the secondary a week ago, and our students have those. We are now going to be transitioning to providing devices for grades 3 through 5 first, and then K2. So in the very near future, you're going to hear how that is going to happen. Principals will be sharing a consistent communication, and I believe by Thursday or Friday, we should be communicating and start disseminating those tools of technology so students can participate. And so you will see more Chromebooks out happily. And again, it begs a different question about, one-to-one devices and our approach as we move forward. I know that, there's some pieces from a board level I don't want to speak that you might want to.
Yeah, and I'm happy to address it, right? As a board, we did not feel, especially based on research and experience across the country, that a one-to-one was the right way to go. Again, these glasses did not help me forecast the future very well. I'm still not convinced that that is where we want to go, that there is a need. But we do have a vulnerable population where there is a need for those Chromebooks, and they will be disseminated. I don't believe that is 100% the case across the district. But we have the tools and we have the Chromebooks where we can provide the set of the students that do need them and get that to them.
You know, and I want to be clear that, yes, we're going week to week or every 2 weeks, but we're really, you know, have our eye on the future. I would be, you know, I wouldn't be doing, again, the justice or giving the credit to our curriculum and instruction team and our building principals. You know, how can we continue to look forward into the future if this does continue to extend? What does that look like? So, again, the online presence will continue. We are going to continue to get technology in the hands of our students.
Brett, you remain involved. I know you're on daily calls, town, village, county, watching the state. And indeed, those situations keep changing or the information we get. And so do our best to share that information as we receive it.
So, as I said in the beginning, this is a fairly new experience. If there were some glitches or some nerves, thank you for showing us a lot of grace and patience. There's a number of questions that we have not gotten to, but we will make sure that we get these in a Q&A format and make sure that we answer them to the best of our ability. We're always open for feedback. This was fun. I don't want to leave, you know, but I do know that, you know, you all have commitments too, and if I keep it past an hour, you might not want to come back. I hope you do come back. I promise that we'll become more fluid as we move forward. We're hearing your feedback, and if we didn't get to your great questions, I would love to start continuing to go on it, but I will respect the framework of this forum. So with that, a hearty appreciation and a sense of gratitude to our incredible community, to our first responders and our health caregivers. You are our heroes. We're grateful that you're laying it on the line and you're doing the best that you could do in the most unusual of circumstances. To our teachers and educators and administrators, so proud to serve alongside of all of you. You've done an amazing job, you know, as Mr. Forsgren said, building this while we are in the air. And please know, our number one priority is to make sure that our kids are cared for, that our kids have the right tools, not only from an academic standpoint, but more importantly from a social, emotional standpoint. Please reach out if you feel like we need to connect with a child or to support or to provide resources to a family. Use our Safe Schools hotline, call an administrator, email me, email a principal, email your teacher. We care. I'm proud to serve alongside of all of you. This is an incredible community, and I know that we will become better. We will become stronger as we move forward. Thank you for giving me the honor to serve, and to our Board of Education, looking forward to tomorrow night. We'll be talking about the budget, and we will be hearing about their priorities as a whole, and actually the real numbers that we're working with through this crisis.
Part of that, it is streamed live tomorrow, right? We will be live again, not necessarily taking questions in this format as we go through a discussion. There will be parts where we'll enter into executive session for the more sensitive areas where we need to talk. But please join us tomorrow where we see the different possible scenarios and we start looking at what it is we think we can do and how we maintain the focus of who we are and what we want to become.
And again, we're better together, and I'm looking forward to continuing dialogue and learning from each other as we move forward. Thank you all. Until next time.
Good night.
Please remember that teachers, they do. There's a lot of good points here. Is it over?
The comments are still coming.
Yeah. It's good.
That was just texted. Things are positive.
Text you. Email or text? Oh, he's on.
Just texted me.
Are you okay? You feel good? That was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was.
I didn't want to stop, but I think you got to honor it.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.